Good evening and welcome to the national news broadcast on ChannelEye. We are ready to bring you the top stories from home and around the world. I'm Natalia Virvadana.
A very good evening, I'm Lakshitendra Singha. To start off, we take a quick look at the headlines for tonight. A decision to open all the grades in all schools from the 15th of March. Distribution of laptops at concessionary rates for students qualified to enter universities commences. Cabinet approval for the project to provide funds for sections severely affected by corona outbreak. Prime Minister instructs to expedite the development aspired by the public. Praises to government for increasing the estate workers' daily wage. Minister of Labour says the estate companies which are unable to extend the relevant daily wage should be provided to the government. First week of March has been declared as Saubhagya Satya. WHO experts indicate countries should not panic over the concerns related to the efficacy of vaccines.
And now the top story for tonight, Minister Professor G.L. Piri says a decision has been reached to reopen all grades of all schools in the country from 15th of March. The Ministry of Education took steps to obtain recommendations from district development committees regarding the reopening of schools in the Western Province recently. Minister Professor G.L. Piri said divisional coordinating committees have recommended that a total of 412 out of 492 schools in Colombo district can be reopened on 15th of February. He said that relevant recommendations have been directed to Director General of Health Services. He added that plans will be made to reopen the schools in accordance to the approval granted by the Health Director General. The minister said that schools in Timbirigasyaya, Kolonnawa, Homagama, Kasbawa, Dehiwala, Moratuwa and Sitawaka Divisional Secretariat divisions can be reopened on February 15th. He added that the rest of the schools in Colombo district expected to be commenced on the 15th of March for the new term. He further said that all schools in the country expected to be reopened on 15th of March.
Now, the program to provide laptops on a concessionary payment scheme to the students who are qualified to enter universities commenced today. It was held under the patronage of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the Presidential Secretariat. The program has been initiated to digitalize the entire education system to meet current needs as envisioned in the national policy framework of Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor. President Rajapaksa symbolically handed over relevant documents to 6 new students who will be enrolled to universities for the academic year of 2021 at the Presidential Secretariat this morning. The program has been formulated by the University Grants Commission in collaboration with the People's Bank. People's Bank has allocated 3 billion rupees for this project. Each laptop will be equipped with an internet connection, software package and a 4-year warranty period. A laptop is valued at 80,000 rupees. The loan scheme gives students the opportunity to settle the payment within 6 years following their employment. During the university education, the students are required to pay a sum of 500 rupees monthly. Minister of Education Professor G.L. Piri, Secretary to the President P.B. Jayasundara, Secretary of Education Professor Kapila Pereira, Chairperson of the University Grants Commission Professor Sampath Amarathunga, Chairperson of the People's Bank Sujiva Rajapaksa and several others were present at the occasion.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa directed instructions to authorities today to take steps to expedite the completion of development projects of the government as scheduled while fulfilling the aspirations of the public. The Prime Minister made these remarks while taking part in the progress review meeting held at the Urban Development and Housing Ministry. The Prime Minister directed his attention towards the progress of the institutions belonging to the State Ministry of Urban Development, Coastal Conservation, Waste Disposal and Public Sanitation and the projects initiated by the institutions. The Prime Minister instructed the authorities to remove illegal constructions in the coastal zones. Prime Minister Rajapaksa directed his attention on the expenditure pertaining to the implementation of several loan grant development projects in several sites, including Anuradhapura during the previous government period and for the maintenance of the staff related to these projects. Steps will be taken to streamline the resettlement process in North and East provinces, and a total of 26 out of 35 Colombo Metro projects initiated under the World Bank project have been completed at present. The rest of the 9 projects expect to be completed before the end of this year. A decision was reached to utilize the knowledge of the local engineers for the projects in future. It was pointed out with the introduction of Metro Line, which is expected to be commenced from Ragama, Moratuwa, Makumbura and Kadawatha, covering the entry to Colombo, the loss of thousands of millions of rupees incurred with heavy motor traffic condition expected to be decreased up to 450 million rupees. Another meeting is scheduled to be held at the Ministry of Finance under the patronage of the Prime Minister on the implementation of this project within a period of 4 years. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said that the necessary measures have to be expedited as the government has to make the effort in fulfilling the development activities expected to be completed within 5 years period in accordance to the aspirations of the public. He said that the progress should be ensured by utilizing the maximum strength and experience offered by the relevant parties. State Minister Dr. Nalaka Godaheva mentioned that a strategic plan has been initiated in order to fulfill all the responsibilities mentioned in the Vistas of Prosperity Policy Statement. Secretary to the Ministry of Urban Development and Housing, Sirinimal Pereira, Additional Secretary Sudat Yalegama and Chief of Prime Minister's Staff Yoshita Rajapaksha were present at this occasion.
Cabinet approval has been granted to initiate the project agreed with the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank to grant funding for the sectors which are mostly affected by the COVID-19 outbreak. The proposal to take measures including entering into relevant agreements for the implementation of the proposed projects was presented by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. Accordingly, funding will be granted for sectors including tourism, apparel, construction, trade, manufacturing, agricultural exports and healthcare. The project is expected to be initiated with the participation of Bank of Ceylon and People's Bank. The number of COVID-19 recoveries in the country has increased up to 65,053. Accordingly, the percentage of fully recovered COVID-19 patients in the country is at 91.87%. Meanwhile, 7.61% of COVID-19 patients are receiving treatments at present, and this amounts to 5,388 patients. Another 571 COVID-19 patients were identified in the island today. All patients have been identified as close contacts of Paliagoda COVID cluster. 12,145 PCR tests were conducted yesterday. Accordingly, the total number of PCR tests up to now has reached 1,832,321. The epidemiology unit has indicated that AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine has already been administered to more than 167,762 people in the country under the COVID-19 inoculation program. The AstraZeneca vaccination was initiated on the 29th of January and today is the 12th day. A total of 5,989 persons received the vaccine yesterday. Minister Keheliya Rambukwella has requested the Presidential Task Force for the Prevention of COVID-19 Outbreak to expedite the process to inoculate media personnel in the country. The request was made at the COVID Prevention Committee meeting held under the patronage of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The minister emphasized the importance in expediting the process to inoculate media personnel for COVID-19, considering the services rendered by them for the prevention of the outbreak. The minister said that media personnel are carrying out a national duty as a frontline group by providing information to the public from the inception of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the statistics of the Government Information Department, a total of 6,000 media personnel have been registered in the country, out of which 1,150 are provincial correspondents. The minister said that the media personnel and media organizations have requested him to provide the vaccination for them in the past couple of days. 9 more COVID-19 related deaths were reported yesterday. The victims were residents of Colombo 15, Colombo 12, Anuradhapura, Kurunegala, Negombo, Kites, Horana, Gurudenia and Mavanella areas.
And meanwhile, the media briefing to announce the decisions taken at the cabinet meeting held yesterday was held under the patronage of Minister Keheliya Rambukwella. The media briefing was held at the Government Information Department. Following remarks were shared by Minister Keheliya Rambukwella at the briefing today.
We have already approved the AstraZeneca, which we are getting from India. We have also asked for this Chinese vaccine and the Russia. Are there any diplomatic considerations involved in approving this? Well, will we approve on the Indian one and the China one is not approved? Or are there any considerations like that?
You see, there is a unit that gives permission or that grants permission to use. So that is referred to that unit. And after once we get the approval from that unit only, this can be used. And Chinese thing is forwarded to that unit. And today, I think today or tomorrow, they're expecting the approval for that as well.
Last week we discussed about the East Terminal. Now, has the government officially informed India and Japan that Sri Lanka is pulling out of the tripartite agreement? And what are the next steps?
Well, I suppose it is with the Foreign Ministry and the Minister of Ports. They have not made any attempts at the moment, but there will be a course of action that will take. And then, as you know, there was an agreement signed in 2017 and 2019. And subsequently as well, there have been certain dialogues and exchange of views about it. So obviously, we will be communicating of the final decision in due course.
And now let's take a look at the pandemic situation of the global. The coronavirus pandemic has killed over 2.32 million people and infected more than 106.5 million at present. Meanwhile, World Health Organization Director General Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus called for the adjustment of COVID-19 vaccines to factor in the new strains of the virus. Dr. Ghebreyesus made these remarks addressing a media briefing yesterday on the South Africa's decision to halt its rollout of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine after a study showed its drops were minimally effective at preventing mild to moderate disease caused by a variant first identified in the country. The WHO chief urged countries to continue reporting the emerging variants of the coronavirus to the World Health Organization in order to assist coordinate global efforts to monitor their impact and advise countries accordingly. The WHO chief also called for vaccine manufacturing and rollout to be scaled up in order to protect people before they are exposed to new variants.
The emergence of new variants of the virus has raised questions about the potential impact of those variants on vaccines. Yesterday, South Africa announced that it was putting a temporary hold on the rollout of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine after a study showed it was minimally effective at preventing mild to moderate disease caused by a variant first identified in South Africa. This is clearly concerning news. It also seems increasingly clear that manufacturers will have to adjust to the evolution of the virus, taking into account the latest variants for future shots, including boosters. We know viruses mutate, and we know we have to be ready to adapt vaccines so they remain effective.
WHO experts also extended their backing to the AstraZeneca vaccine against COVID-19 and emphasized that the countries should not panic in this regard.
I think it's so important that we recognize that information is going to continue coming out, and we really have to sort of sail a steady ship based on the preponderance of evidence and not lurch from one particular report or another report, because in science there is variability in the biology of how vaccines work in different populations at different points in time among different groups in populations. In looking at the evidence on the AstraZeneca vaccine across a number of trials, it is very clear that it has efficacy against severe disease, hospitalizations, and deaths. Among the variants and different variants, there is some reduction in, some indications of reduction in the efficacy, some more, some less, depending on which variant, which population, and also of the neutralizing antibody responses.
You mustn't start, concluding that this vaccine doesn't work at all. What we've seen is data from a small study. It's indicative. It is telling us we need to collect more data, we need to study it more. But from all the available evidence, the AZ vaccine and all the other vaccines that have been approved so far reduce death, reduce hospitalization, and reduce severe disease.
Now, in the meantime, social media giant Facebook announced that it will expand its scope of action by banning those promoting false claims on coronavirus vaccine and other vaccines. The social media company said that any false claims on the coronavirus vaccine and that the vaccines are dangerous and cause autism would be removed.
Facebook said on Monday it will start removing false claims about vaccines from its platform. The social media company said in a blog post it would broaden its target of debunked health claims about the pandemic and vaccines in general. Some conspiracy theorists have falsely stated that the coronavirus was man-made and vaccines can cause autism. In recent weeks, news reports have identified these false claims spreading on Facebook pages, groups and Instagram accounts. Such claims are already prohibited in ads on the platform, and now user-generated content will also face further restrictions. The tech giant also said it will help users find out more about where to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Facebook's head of health, KX Jin.
We're going to be building features to help people find whether, where, and when they can get vaccinated, very similar to how we approached Vote last year. We're also bringing the COVID-19 Information Center to Instagram and expanding our WhatsApp helpline program to make it easier for people to get accurate information about the vaccine.
In the past, Facebook has taken a more hands-off approach to misinformation about vaccines in general. It has only removed posts that it considered at risk of causing imminent harm. Critics said this approach fueled the rise of anti-vaccine communities and rhetoric.
Meanwhile, US health experts said that COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations were down sharply in recent weeks, but that the variant first detected in the UK and now spreading stateside could reverse the trend without continued adherence to protocols and rapid vaccination of the public.
Trends moving in the right direction, we remain in a very serious situation.
U.S. health experts on Monday said that the number of COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations have dropped sharply in recent weeks, but warned that both are still at dangerously high levels, with a more transmissible variant of the disease first discovered in the UK possibly becoming the dominant U.S. variant by the end of March. The Centers for Disease Control Director, Dr. Rochelle Walensky.
The continued proliferation of variants remains of great concern and is a threat that could reverse the recent positive trends we are seeing. Please continue to wear a mask and stay 6 feet apart from people you don't live with. Avoid travels, crowds, and poorly ventilated spaces, and get vaccinated when it's available to you.
The number of COVID-19 cases last week dropped 20% from the week before, and last week's hospitalizations dropped 17% from the week prior. But both are still at levels higher than they were last summer and fall. And the UK variant, first detected in the US at the end of December, is now in 34 states and spreading quickly. Top infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci echoed the two-tiered regimen of strict protocols and vaccinating the public as quickly as possible to protect against emerging variants. He also stressed the importance of getting both doses of either the available Pfizer or Moderna vaccines, each of which call for a 2-dose regimen, as the second dose offers a greater breadth of response.
And by breadth of response, we mean it covers not only the wild type and currently circulating virus, but also the variants that we see circulating.
Despite their warnings, some states have been relaxing restrictions, Iowa most notably, with the governor last week lifting mask requirements and limitations on social gatherings, something with which Walensky did not agree.
Given that we're still at over 100,000 cases a day, I would discourage any such activity.
Walensky also said CDC guidance regarding school reopenings would come in the days ahead.
Meanwhile, on other stories, Ceylon Workers' Congress has extended their appreciation to the government for taking steps to increase the daily wage of estate workers up to 1,000 rupees while fulfilling a pledge made in the elections.
This is not a struggle which started today or yesterday. It's a struggle that's been going on for over 5 years. And we are proud to say that with the help of His Excellency the President, the Prime Minister, the Labour Minister and the Plantation Minister, and of course the support of the other unions within the Wages Board, we have achieved this dream, to be honest. And this was also the dream of my late father, Honorable Arumugam Tonduman, to get this wage. And today we can honestly say we've done justice to the workers. But at the same time, we are aware that there have been some rumors and some falsified information circulating that a worker is going to be offered only 13 days wage. But I would like to refute all those claims, because the thing is, at the end of the day, it's the company's prerogative. But I wish the companies are also aware of the fact of the strike that we had carried out on the 5th to show the unity of the estate workers. So with that being said, we hope everyone will oblige.
Coordinating Secretary to the Prime Minister on Estate Infrastructure Facilities, Sindhil Thondaman, said that the proposal presented by late Minister Arumugam Tondaman to increase the daily wage of estate workers up to 1,000 rupees was approved by the government yesterday. He said that they wish to extend their gratitude to the President, the Prime Minister and Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva for the efforts taken in this regard. The estate workers in many areas, including Hatton and Bogavantalava, rejoiced the confirmation of the increase of the daily wage with many celebrations.
Head of Presidential Task Force for Economic Revival and Poverty Eradication, Basil Rajapaksa, says that the first week of March will be declared as Saubhagya Satya. Programs related to budget proposals expected to be implemented during this week. Head of Presidential Task Force Basil Rajapaksa made these remarks while taking part in the second round discussion to create women and youth entrepreneurs in the country under the Velanda Nivasa concept. The meeting was held at the Temple Trees today. Head of Presidential Task Force Basil Rajapaksa said that the training programs and workshops for the entrepreneurs selected under the program to create women and youth entrepreneurs in the rural level as proposed in the budget this year are expected to be commenced on the 2nd of March until the 8th. He pointed out that a special responsibility will be vested with the Samurdhi Development Department in implementing the proposed program covering the entire country. He further said that measures have been taken to assist the divisional coordination committees in order to direct unemployed Samurdhi beneficiaries towards livelihood development activities and empower them to be a community with a strong economy. Accordingly, around 200,000 low-income earning families are expected to be empowered as mentioned in the 2021 budget proposals. The opportunity will be facilitated for the consumers to purchase essential commodities and goods produced in the rural level from the Velanda Nivasa units at concessionary rates. This facility will also be utilized as a collection center for rural products. Head of Presidential Task Force Basil Rajapaksa instructed relevant ministries and institutions to design the plan of the Velanda Nivasa unit with a trading stall connected to the house, to select relevant land plots in this regard and to expedite the construction of these units. Minister Namal Rajapaksa, State Ministers Lasantha Lagewanna, Shehan Semasinghe, P.L. Nishantha and Indika Anuruddha were present at this meeting. In the meantime, speaking in the Parliament today, Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva said that all estate companies which are unable to pay the 1,000 rupees worth daily wage for estate workers to be handed over to the government. He said that 1,000 rupees daily wage will be initially extended for the estates managed under the government. Opposition leader Sajid Premdasa said that a basic salary was promised for the estate worker communities. He said that the government entered into a process to distort the estate community without fulfilling the responsibility following 1 year of the election victory. In response, Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva said that such criticisms were levelled against the government without understanding the content of a collective agreement, which is an agreement signed between trade unions and owners. He said that this agreement is enforced until 30th of December of this year. The minister said that the only alternative the government had in this regard was to reach out to Salary Control Board and to determine the salary accordingly. The minister said that criticisms continue to be levelled against the government when following the only alternative available to this issue. He said that in the past 5 years, previous government was unable to increase the salary. However, he said that the present government was able to increase the daily wage. Opposition parliamentarian Rajitha Senaratne said that the previous government failed to fulfill the promise made to increase the daily wage up to 1,000 rupees. He said that the government reached an agreement 900 to 100 at the Salary Control Board. He said that the Estate Owners Confederation said that this initiative should be implemented in government-managed estates and subsequently they will consider whether to implement the proposed salary increase. Responding to this query, Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva said that estate owners have no right to impose such conditions and the decision rendered by the Salary Control Board should be implemented. He said that the government will be responsible in making this payment, utilizing the funds from the Treasury. He said that the government has clearly stated that if the estate companies are unable to pay the revised daily wage for the estate workers, those estates would be handed over to the government. He said that no room will be spared for the estate owners to act according to their own interests.
State Minister Ajit Niwad Kabral says that measures will be taken to provide financial and loan facilities for filmmakers following discussions with financial institutions. He made these remarks during a meeting held at the Ministry of Finance yesterday under the instructions of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. Minister Sarath Veerasekara, Chief of Prime Minister's Staff Yoshitha Rajapaksa, film producers, film directors, film theatre owners, officials of the ministry and officials representing banks and financial institutions were present at this meeting. During the meeting, the filmmakers requested to provide a concessionary loan scheme to uplift the cinema industry, which was collapsed in the face of COVID-19.
And that's all the stories for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow at the very same time. Good night.
Good night.